everybody. My name is Ingrid Hernandez, and I'm the Pelvic Detective. I am bringing to you a series of videos that I'm partnering with Desert Harvest to talk about all sorts of pelvic health conditions, pelvic physical therapy, and how everything interrelates with the musculoskeletal system. I've been a pelvic PT for over 26 years and a PT for 38 years, and I've been so fortunate to work with awesome colleagues and awesome patients and learn so much, and I hope to share that with you in these series of videos. Pelvic physical therapists treat many different conditions, including urinary incontinence, fecal incontinence, constipation, pelvic pain, so many different conditions in the pelvic region, and we can really help to make those things better. This series of videos is meant for educational purposes only. It is meant to enhance your knowledge of all things in the pelvic floor and pelvis and help you find care sooner and your loved ones' care as well. So today's video is going to be on pelvic floor contractions. So there is a very, very big confusion out there about pelvic floor contractions on many levels. One is there's this one pendulum swing to, oh, everybody should be doing 1,000 of them in a day, to no, nobody should be doing them. And unfortunately, this pendulum swing makes it very, very confusing for many people. There's also great confusion as to how to do a pelvic floor contraction and who should be doing one. So hopefully with this video, we're going to clarify a few of those things for you and make it a little easier to understand why you should or should not be doing these contractions. So there are certain circumstances where you should not be doing contractions, or you need to wait to do contractions. And there are certain circumstances where it's great, it's wonderful to do the contractions. One thing I want you to understand is, as we go through the principles of the pelvic floor contraction today, if you have any pain whatsoever, you have difficulty doing them, you can't quite understand how to do them, you can't relax, you should immediately stop doing the pelvic floor contraction and seek a pelvic floor physical therapist. Pelvic floor physical therapists are perfectly trained to assess and help you understand how to do a contraction, or if you should even be doing one. So just keep that in mind, even though we're going to talk about some wonderful ways to figure out how to do a pelvic floor contraction. So many people have heard of Kegels. So in my clinic, I actually don't let people say the word Kegel because there's such a misconception as to what it is. And I use the phrase pelvic floor contraction. And you might hear your physical therapist say that too. So it's good to know the different terminology for that. So I've had patients come into clinic and say, I've been doing Kegels for years and they don't help. And when I assess them, not only are they not doing a Kegel, they're doing the opposite of what they should be doing. And as a result, they're increasing their symptoms. So I spend 4 pages in my book, The Musculoskeletal Mystery, How to Solve Your Pelvic Floor Symptoms, describing how to do a pelvic floor contraction, if you should do it, and also the importance of relaxation in between your pelvic floor contractions. So that'll help really clarify and go into much more detail what we're going to talk about in a moment. So that can be found on page 195 to 199 in my book. The book is a perfect companion to all these videos, but this will be really important to get more details on that. So here are some basic ideas and basic concepts that you can think of when you're doing a pelvic floor contraction. So I want you to imagine that you have a straw in the vaginal or anal canal. So you can imagine either, it doesn't matter your gender, you can do these pelvic floor contractions. These aren't just meant for one gender or one kind of person. So for now, we're going to talk about vaginally, but like I said, anally. You imagine you have a straw, and then the muscles of the pelvic floor of your vaginal or anal canal are going to act like they're pulling fluid up through the straw. So you don't actually have the straw in the vaginal canal. Instead, you're imagining the straw in the vaginal canal and that you're using the muscles to pull the fluid up through the straw. So the idea is you're using your muscles to pull up and inward as if you're going up towards your nose, so to speak. So it's an up and inward sensation. You should not be, if you're sitting, you shouldn't be bobbing up and down. You shouldn't feel your belly move in and out. This should be, when you're first learning, a very isolated contraction just to the pelvic floor. And you can start lying on your back when you do it. If you feel like you can feel it better, you can move to sitting and even standing eventually. In the beginning, I would suggest just doing a couple second hold and a couple second rest. And here's the rest part that's important. You should feel like you can let that fluid fall back out of the straw, like your pelvic floor is just opening up like a blossom. So when you pull up, it's fluid through the straw up. When you relax, it's fluid through the straw down. If you cannot feel that relaxation, if you're really struggling or you're having pain, please see a pelvic PT. I can't stress that enough because you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. This is just to give you an idea if you are doing it correctly or not. And if you're doing it well, that's fine. So after learning how to do this and holding for a few seconds and resting for a few seconds, you can try to do 10 in a row. And then you can try to maybe do 3 sets of those over the day, and you can align it with another task you do. It could be when you're sitting watching TV. It could be sitting when you're at a stoplight. So there are many, many instances that you can think of during your life where you can do this to make it easier to get them done every day. And yes, it's healthy to do this every single day. Realize pelvic floor contractions can be used for many things. It can be used to help reduce urinary incontinence, fecal incontinence, by helping to strengthen or improve the function of the pelvic floor. It can be used for constipation. It can be used for pelvic pain of all sorts. It can be used for after pregnancy, during pregnancy, to help alleviate symptoms. So pelvic floor contractions are a wonderful way to help resolve many of these issues. But again, like we were talking about, pelvic physical therapists are suited to help you assess and figure out what the best use for it is, and how you can help yourself with pelvic floor contractions.